There was once a family who lived at the edge of Umwaka village. Their house was not grand, but it was sturdy. The walls were freshly painted white. The compound was swept clean every morning, and their small garden bloomed with okra and pepper plants. Papa Favor sold palm wine from his own trees. Mama Favor baked chin chin that the whole village praised. They weren't wealthy by city standards, but they lived comfortably enough. The family was known throughout Umwaka for one thing above all else: their generous hearts. When Bido Nkechi's roof collapsed during the rainy season, it was Papa Favor who organized the men to rebuild it. When young Chidi fell sick with malaria, it was Mama Favor who brought soup every day until he recovered. They had two daughters. Favor, the elder, carried her mother's gentle spirit, and Chidera, the younger, who looked at their mother's prosperity with eyes that burned with dissatisfaction. For Chidera believed with every fiber in her being that her family was wretchedly poor. Every market day, Favor would accompany their mother to sell chicken and help other women arrange their goods. Chidera would tag along, but not to help. She came to perform. When old Mama Kelechi struggled to lift her basket of yams, Favor would rush to help, her face bright with genuine concern. Chidera would follow, but only after looking around to see who was watching. She would smile sweetly and dust off the yams, all while her eyes searched the crowd for any eligible young men who might witness her kindness. When Mama Obioma couldn't make correct change for a customer, Favor would quietly count the money and whisper the right amount. Chidora would loudly announce she was helping, ensuring everyone in the nearby stalls could hear how charitable and intelligent she was. The village women would smile and nod at both sisters, but it was Favor they truly respected. It was Favor they trusted with their troubles. It was Favor whose help they sought when their own daughters needed guidance. This frustrated Chidera beyond measure. She worked twice as hard at appearing helpful, yet somehow, Favor, who never seemed to try at all, was the one everyone loved. Back at home, while Favor helped with cooking and cleaning, Chidera would sit with her friends under the big mango tree, painting her nails and braiding her hair into elaborate styles. She would complain endlessly about how unfair life was. Look at us, she would say to her friend Ugochi, gesturing toward their mother's house, living like peasants when other girls our age are riding in big cars and wearing gold jewelry. Ugochi would nod sympathetically, though her own family was far poorer than Chidera's. If only I could find a rich man, Chidera continued, I would show everyone in this village what real success looks like. One evening, as the family sat sharing their dinner, Elder Okudili appeared at their gate. The respected old man rarely visited families unless the matter was important. Papa Favor quickly invited him in, but he declined the offer. I come with news from my nephew in Onitsha, Elder Okudili began, his voice carrying the weight of significance. He owns a large provision store in the main market. His business has grown so much, and he needs someone trustworthy to help manage it since the last manager disappointed him. The family listened intently. Both daughters sat straighter. This person will live in Onitsha, oversee the daily sales, handle money, and learn the business from the ground up. My nephew is a fair man. He would pay well and treat the right person like family. Chidera's heart began to race. She was excited. This was it. This was her chance to escape the suffocating simplicity of village life. She could already picture herself in the city, wearing modern clothes, counting stacks of money. The young person must be hardworking, honest, and have a good reputation in the community, Ola Okudili continued. Someone the village can be proud of. He paused. Looking around the compound, then his eyes settled on Favor. I would like to recommend your daughter Favor for this position. The words hit Chidera like a physical blow. Not her, but Favor. The family erupted in excitement. Papa Favor beamed with pride. Mama Favor clapped her hands in joy. Favor looked short but grateful. Chidera smiled and congratulated her sister, but inside, a poisonous seed of resentment was planted. Within 2 weeks, Favor was settled in Onitsha. The store was everything Elder Okudili had promised. It was large, busy, and profitable. Mr. Nnamdi insisted she called him Uncle Nnamdi. He was impressed by Favor's quick learning and careful attention to detail. Favor would wake up early, organize the goods, serve customers with a smile, and keep perfect records of every transaction. She treated every customer, whether they bought the smallest item or the largest thing, with the same respect. The other traders in the market began to notice her. Here was a young woman who was not only beautiful but also intelligent and hardworking. Word of her character spread quickly. It was during her 5th month in Onitsha that Favor met Emeka Okafor. Emeka was a civil engineer who had come to the market to buy supplies for his construction site. He was tall, well dressed, and spoke with the quiet confidence of an educated man. But what impressed Favor most was his kindness. When an elderly woman stumbled while carrying her basket, he helped immediately. When a young boy couldn't afford the full price of the bread he wanted, Emeka quietly paid the difference. He began visiting the store regularly, not just to buy goods, but to talk with Favor. Their conversations revealed a man who was ambitious but not greedy, successful but not arrogant. He had plans to build affordable houses for young families. He spoke about wanting a wife who would not just be his partner, but also someone he could love and trust. When Uncle Nnamdi saw how respectfully Emeka treated his niece in business, he approved. When Emeka properly approached Favor's parents through Elder Okudili, Papa Favor and Mama Favor were delighted. Back in the village, everyone celebrated their union, everyone except Chidera. When Emeka came to visit the family, Chidera studied him like a hunter studies prey. She saw his expensive wristwatch, his well-tailored clothes, his confident manner. Most importantly, she saw the way he looked at Favor with genuine love and respect. This was the kind of man Chidera had dreamt of. This was her ticket to the life she felt she deserved. She began her campaign slowly. When Emeka visited, Chidera would appear wearing her best clothes, her brightest smile. She would offer to serve him water. She would laugh at his jokes and find excuses to touch his arm. Her sister felt she just appreciated Emeka, and so she paid no mind to Chidera's attitude. My sister is so lucky to have someone like you, she would say, gazing up with practiced innocence. I hope someday I can find a man who appreciates intelligence and ambition the way you do. But Emeka was not a foolish man. He saw through Chidera's performance and found it distasteful. He always avoided her when she came close to him. Frustrated by his resistance, Chidera became bolder. You know, she told him one day, Favor is sweet, but she's very simple. Village life is all she really understands, but I've always dreamt of bigger things. I could help you build the empire you desire. Emeka's response was cold and final. Chidera, I love your sister exactly as she is. I have no interest in pursuing someone else. Please respect that. The rejection burned through Chidera like acid. How dare he choose her ordinary sister over her? How dare he dismiss her so easily? That night, Chidera lay in bed plotting. If she couldn't have Emeka, she would find someone even better, someone richer, more powerful and impressive. She would show everyone, especially Favor, what she was truly capable of achieving. Chidera began traveling to the city on market days, claiming she was looking for business opportunities. In reality, she was seeking a different kind of opportunity altogether. In the bustling commercial city, she met Gloria, a girl about her age who dressed in expensive clothes and carried the latest phone. Gloria introduced her to a circle of young people who called themselves entrepreneurs but seemed to have no actual businesses. There was Chinedu, who claimed to import goods from overseas but never seemed to travel, and Blessing, who said she was in real estate but couldn't explain exactly what property she sold. And there was Ikechukwu, the group's unofficial leader, who wore gold necklaces and drove flashy car, but was suspiciously vague about how he earned his money. The secret, Ikechukwu explained to Chidera during one of their late-night gatherings, is to think bigger than everyone else. While people in the village are counting kobo, we are thinking in millions. He told her about investment opportunities that could turn thousands into hundreds of thousands overnight. He spoke of connection in high places, and Chidera was mesmerized. Finally, here were people who understood her ambition, who saw her potential, who weren't content with the small, simple life her family had chosen. But these opportunities require capital, Ikechukwu continued, and sometimes they require people who can access certain resources. The plan he eventually proposed seemed brilliant in its simplicity. Everyone spoke about how they could assist, and Chidera said her sister worked for a wealthy man, about to be married to one too. Uncle Nnamdi's store handled large amounts of cash daily. Your sister trusts you, Ikechukwu pointed out, and your family. Who would suspect you? It's just for a little while. After you are done with the investment, you'd have lots of profit and return the original amount taken. Chidera's conscience whispered warnings, but her greed shouted louder. She pictured herself returning to the village in a Mercedes, draped in gold jewelry, able to build many things for her parents, and keep proving to everyone in the village that she was the one who truly was meant for success. Chidera began visiting Onitsha more frequently, claiming she missed her sister and wanted to learn about business. Favor was always generous with her time and knowledge. She seemed to appreciate her sister's interest. I'm so proud of you for wanting to learn, Favor told her. Mr. Nnamdi would appreciate once I go and he has someone else to take over who he trusts too. Those words stung Chidera's conscience, but it could not stop her. She studied the store system carefully. She learned where the cash was counted, how the records were updated. She identified the brief windows she could access the money and documents without being detected. The first time she took money, her hands shook so badly she could barely count the bills. It was only 50,000 naira, she told herself, a small amount that would never be missed. She would return it within a week along with her profits. But Ikechukwu's certain investment disappeared along with her money. He had explanations, of course, delays and complications. Don't worry, he assured her. I have an even better opportunity coming up. I just need a little more capital to get us started. Haven't I been spending money on you? And she believed because he had been bringing money to spend on them. Each time she took money to cover the previous loss, the amounts grew larger. Each time Ikechukwu promised returns, the promises proved empty. She began altering the store's records, creating fake receipts, and manipulating the daily cash counts. The stress was overwhelming, but the fear of being caught was even worse than the fear of taking more. Favor noticed her sister seemed tense and tired during visits, but she thought she was just trying to learn the ropes of the business. Don't worry, Favor encouraged her. Success takes time. The kindness in her sister's voice made Chidera want to confess everything, but she was in too deep. She convinced herself that one more scheme, one more investment would solve everything. Uncle Nnamdi was a successful businessman, because he paid attention to details. When his monthly bookkeeping showed many differences that couldn't be explained, he knew something was wrong. The audit revealed months of systematic theft and falsified records. The pattern was clear and indicated someone with intimate knowledge of the store's operations. He got the police involved and investigations began. It didn't take long to trace the money to Chidera, and when she was arrested, more information came out about Ikechukwu's criminal network. Then a raid was made on the hideout where Chidera was with her friends. She was dragged and put in handcuffs. Neighbors gathered to watch as she was pushed into the van, her head covered in shame. Papa Favor received the phone call that no parent wants to hear. His daughter was in police custody and she was accused of theft and fraud. The amounts were staggering, enough to send her to prison for years. When Mama Favor and Favor were told, they were all stunned. After finding out the amount, everybody kept quiet. The amount affected Uncle Nnamdi's business. The stolen money had been meant for suppliers and business expansion. But what was worse than the financial damage was the betrayal. Favor felt responsible. She had trusted her sister completely, giving her access to everything, and Chidera had used that trust to not just steal money, but destroy the reputation of livelihood of people who had done nothing but show her kindness. Chidera's trial was swift because the evidence was overwhelming. Standing before the judge wearing the plain clothes of a defendant rather than the designer outfit she had dreamed of, Chidera finally understood the true cost of her greed. She had not only stolen money, she had stolen her family's peace, her sister's trust, and her own future. You are young, the judge told her, and that is why I'm giving you this sentence. You must understand that choices have consequences because you confessed. But remember, now you must face the results and choose to work hard instead of greed. The sentence was 3 years in prison. In her cell, Chidera had nothing but time to think. She remembered her mother's daily acts of kindness, her father's patient work building his palm wine business, Favor's genuine joy in helping others. All the things she had dismissed as naive and insufficient were now the true foundations of a really rich life. She began writing letters to her family, but for months no one answered. She wrote to Uncle Nnamdi, apologizing and promising to repay every kobo, but still no reply. It wasn't until her second year in prison that she finally received a letter. It was from her mother. My daughter, we have never stopped loving you, even in our pain. We hope when you are ready to come home, you would rebuild life the right way. After 3 years, the prison gates opened for Chidera. She walked out carrying only a small bag of belongings and a heart heavy with remorse. She had used her time in prison to learn new skills. More importantly, she had learned to value things that couldn't be stolen or lost: integrity, family, and peace of mind. The journey back to Umwaka village felt like the longest trip of her life. Would her family accept her? Would the community forgive her? Would Favor ever trust her again? When she arrived at the family compound, it looked smaller than she remembered, but somehow more beautiful. The same pepper plants grew in the garden, the same mango tree provided shade, the same sounds of village life filled the air. Her parents were waiting for her, and their eyes held no anger, only a hopeful smile. "Welcome home, our daughter," Mama Favor said simply and embraced her. Her father also joined the embrace. That evening, Favor came to visit. The sisters looked at each other across the compound, years of pain and betrayal hanging between them like a wall. Finally, Chidera spoke. "Sister, I cannot undo what I did. I cannot give you back the trust I destroyed or repair the damage I caused. I can only tell you that every day in prison, I thought about your kindness, your integrity, and how badly I failed to learn from your example. Favor listened without speaking. I don't expect forgiveness, Chidera continued, tears flowing freely now. I don't deserve it. But I want you to know that I finally understand what you always try to tell me. Peace is truly better than plenty money gotten by evil. Love is worth more than money, and family is the greatest treasure of all. Favor stood silent for a long moment. When she finally spoke, her voice was soft but firm. Chidera, you are my sister. Nothing will ever change that. What you did was wrong and it hurt many people, but you have paid your debt to society and you seem to have learned from your mistakes. I forgive you, not because you deserve it, but because holding on to anger would poison my own heart. But forgiveness is not the same as trust. Trust must be earned through consistent good actions. Chidera nodded, understanding completely. I am willing to work for that trust for as long as it takes. Chidera's return to Umwaka was not easy. Some neighbors whispered when she passed. Children stared, but she did not argue. She simply walked. She used her prison-learned skills to help women keep proper business record. She tutored young people in basic accounting training. When the community well broke down, she was the one who organized the fundraising and accounted for every naira spent. Little by little, people began to see that the woman who had returned was not the girl who had left. The turning point came when Uncle Nnamdi agreed to meet her. Chidera brought him a repayment plan. I cannot undo the damage I caused, but I can repair it even if it takes the rest of my life. Uncle Nnamdi studied her for a long time and nodded. I believe she has changed. Finally, people started trusting her again. Years later, the family compound looked the same. But Chidera saw it differently now. What once felt like poverty now looked like wealth beyond counting. The love of her parents, the integrity of her sister, the safety of belonging. These were treasures her restless heart had once despised. She would often tell younger women who came to her for advice, I thought I needed more than what my family gave me. I thought contentment was weakness, but I was wrong. Enough is a decision, not an amount. And the richest life is built on character, not cash. You can work for the life you want rather than steal it. Some listened, some did not. But she spoke anyway, not as a teacher, but as a living example. One quiet evening, as the sun sank low and Mama Favor passed around her famous chin-chin, Chidera sat in the midst of her family, grateful for the miracle of forgiveness and love she now receives, and looked back at the girl she used to be, the girl who thought love and peace were not enough. Chidera smiled while thinking, because now she knew the truth. She had been rich all along. She just had not been wise enough to see it. Hi, lovelies. I'm Aku. Don't forget to share your thoughts in the comment section. Also, share this story with your friends. Bye bye.